Hello, and welcome to Stretching the Word. I'm your host, Sister Valerie, and not today, devil, just not this year. The weather is warming up, and ooh, aren't we grateful? And as the weather warm up, more and more people are coming outside. A lot of people are beginning to jog and walk. And as you see people walking, you look at the couples and they're walking along and they're in sync with each other. And then you see some people and you kind of say, well, I think she's walking with him. I think she's walking with her. And, it's kind of hard to tell because when me and my husband walk, we'll start off together, but I walk faster than him. So eventually he's going to be a little behind me. And that's because I'm walking faster than him, not because we don't enjoy each other's conversation as we go along or whatever, but sometimes people just move faster than other people. But then you yet have to have that agreement that, yeah, well, I'm not gonna, lap him twice. So, I have to kind of tone it down. But then the Bible says, how can two walk together except they agree? And then the old school phrase says, birds of a feather flock together. You said, well, how can those relate? Well, birds of a feather flock together. You see the sparrows, they live in their nests. The robins, they live in their nests. When you see them flying, you don't see, a robin joining in with the sparrows because even though they're birds, they don't necessarily have stuff in common. So even though we're all human beings, sometimes we just don't have nothing in common. So the Bible says, how can two walk together except they agree? Which means if I'm going to constantly walk with you, we have to have something in agreement. Because if we don't have nothing in agreement, we're going to always find ourselves at odds with one another. We're going to always find ourselves in a disagreement. So when we walk together spiritually, we have to be spiritual. So that's not to say that we don't, talk about worldly things and things that's going on in life and stuff like that. But at some point, if I'm walking with you, and that doesn't necessarily mean, we're taking a walk together, but that means, associating constantly, going to dinner or whatever. We're just hanging out. I can't be hanging out with you constantly if we don't have nothing in common. I'm not going to be hanging out with somebody I know that, is always in the world, this partying, this drinking. I'm not going to be hanging out with them. Yes, I might befriend them, but I'm not going to be, constantly hanging. Oh, this is my bestie. Well, they can't be my bestie because one of us is going up and one of us is going down. Unless one of us is I'm pulling up the person. But we have to learn to have things in common and consider our bestie people that have things in common with us. Other than that, it's going to be always disagreement. Even in the Bible, when Paul and Barnabas, you know, they were on the same page. And then they had a big disagreement, and sometimes you just have to separate when you find that, hey, not to say neither what, that Barnabas wasn't spiritual, not to say that Paul wasn't spiritual. But even when you're both spiritual, sometimes you just can't walk together because you now have a different vision or view, and the other person may have a different vision or view. So when that even happens, spiritual wise, you yet may have to part ways. So whatever we discuss, one, that, we can't be per se besties with the world. The Bible tells us that. Then, secondly, we have to have something in common. Spiritual wise, you have to have something in common. Third thing, even when we are both spiritual, both parties are spiritual, and you have spiritual things in common, sometimes you just have to separate because God has a different vision for you and he may have a different vision for the other person. That does not mean, oh, well, she not up there with me or whatever. That's not what that means necessarily. That just means that, hey, God is taking me in a different direction than he's taking you. So let's not be so quick, when God elevates us or move us or gives us a different vision. Don't try to hang on because that will not be the will of God if he's telling you, okay, well, you yet love her. She yet or he is yet spiritual. But I need you all to separate so that I can fulfill what I need to do in your life. So remember, if you can't agree, then sometimes you might just need to separate.